Alright guys, how's it going? Welcome back. Well, today I'm in this 2016 Mercedes B-Class. I've actually already filmed with the B-Class a couple of years ago, and I quite liked it. That was a diesel though. In fact, it was a 1.5 litre Renault engine. The one I'm in today is a full EV. This is known as the B250E. The E obviously stands for electric. The electric drive system on this is actually sourced from Tesla, and they're quite a rare car. So rare, in fact, there are currently only 25 for sale on Auto Trader. It was only available here in the UK from 2015 until 2017, but I believe in the US it was available the year before. Weirdly, it was sold under a slightly different name there. Over there it was called the B-Class Electric Drive. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I think that was the only Mercedes B-Class on sale in the US. Obviously not many people know that it exists, so I thought today I'd make a video about it, see what it's like. Straight away I can tell you it's got quite an irritating electric noise. Listen to this. Sounds like something off a sci-fi film. The sad thing is I can't tell whether or not that's supposed to be there or if it's just a fault. Thinking about it, today's video might be quite a short one because in many respects it's the same as the ordinary B-Class. You've got a nice interior which genuinely feels upmarket. I love the choice of materials that they've used. Some areas feel a little bit plasticky, but overall it's much nicer than the Nissan Leaf that I filmed with recently. You'll be used to this design now because it's featured in all Mercedes from this era, but I still think it looks quite modern. I love these air vents and the bolt-on iPad. I still think it looks quite good. The infotainment system here is controlled by this rotary dial, which is really user-friendly. It's really quite easy to use and intuitive. The sound system's pretty good, the reverse camera's superb. It's a pity it doesn't have heated seats. This one's just fitted with blank switches. That noise, which I assume is for blind people so they can hear this thing coming, it's just really irritating. Sounds like I'm on a moped. Something else I like about this is the climate control. It's just really easy to operate. I also love the column-mounted automatic gear selector. It's a really easy car to drive, this. I think that's one thing you'll love about it, actually. It's just a really easy car to live with. It's easy to get in and out of, the steering's light and easy, and it feels quite nippy. This will do 0 to 62 in just under 8 seconds. I think as long as you don't want to go too far in it, then this is a great little MPV. Because the gear lever is mounted up here, it's freed up this whole area here where the manual gear stick would normally go. So instead, you get plenty of storage. And you get 2 cup holders, a nice comfortable armrest, with more storage underneath. It's all quite practical. There really is ample space too. I've got plenty of headroom, plenty of legroom, plenty of elbow room, and it's the same story back there. I also quite like how you get those folding trays like you'd get on an aeroplane. Moving back again, you get a very generous boot. It offers 501 litres of space, and more importantly, there's no lip, so it's quite easy to load and unload. In addition to that, the seats are very comfortable and supportive, and the visibility is superb. It also rides quite nicely. It isn't too firm. So far then, it's all quite rosy, and you also don't have to put up with the noise from that clattery Renault engine, or the prehistoric Mercedes one. There is that irritating whirring electric noise, but you can drown that out easily with the radio. Because of the instant torque you get from the electric motor, it does genuinely feel very brisk. That was even wheel spin. That is properly quick, you know. Surprised even me. That was in sport mode. There are 3 different drive modes. Eco, Eco Plus, or S. Be warned though, if you drive everywhere like that, then your already pathetic battery range will diminish even further. The other good thing with this car is that it looks just like, and I mean just like, a regular B-Class. It doesn't look like some weird futuristic EV, just looks like a conventional car. It doesn't boast about its tree-hugging credentials, it just gets on with the job. There are a couple of little styling differences, but only complete anoraks will be able to tell the difference between this and an ordinary B-Wagon. The only real negative with this car, and unfortunately it's quite a big deal, is its poor range. Mercedes claimed when it was new that you'd get 125 miles between charges, but realistically you're talking half that, and that just isn't really good enough. Can you imagine having a petrol car with only a 2-gallon fuel tank that took you 8 hours to top it up? Just wouldn't catch on. But I suppose, thinking sensibly and optimistically, as a second car or a school run car, then this might just work. As I do with every single car that I drive, I always try and imagine a scenario where I might buy one. And the only thing I can think of with this is if, for example, if I worked in the city and I lived 10 miles away in the suburbs, then this might just do. I could charge it overnight on my driveway, drive it to work, drive it back again, and there'd still be enough range to go out for a meal or go to the gym afterwards. I think it'd just about cut it, but the trouble is, I'd always have range anxiety. I'd feel as though my wings had been clipped, and that'd just depress me. I think you'd end up spending your life as a sweaty, nervous wreck. I mean, right now, for example, I've still got half an hour's worth of filming to do, and I'm down to my last quarter tank of battery juice. It's only showing me a range of 22 miles, which might just about do it, but I don't really want to spend my life doing mental arithmetic and sweating. Oh, we've gone up to 23 miles. Also, whilst I'm picking holes in the B250E, the handling's numb, the steering's dead. It's not that fun to drive. But having said that, the kind of person considering one of these cars probably won't care about that sort of thing. What matters most is that it's easy to use and it is very practical. The 3 different drive modes are accessed by this button here. I'm currently in Economy Plus, which feels as though I'm driving over wet tarmac. It almost feels like you've left the handbrake on. Then I'll go into Economy, which instantly makes it feel a little bit lighter on its feet. Or there's full-blown Sport, where it spins its wheels. Personally though, I just leave it in Economy. I think it's the best mixture. Used prices here in the UK start at £10,000 and they go up to 17, which I agree is quite a lot for a car with a 70-mile range. But then again, if you're after an EV at that price point, then there isn't an awful lot of choice. You'd probably be better off going for a second generation Nissan Leaf. You could pick up an early example of those for around 15 grand. And one of those will give you a slightly better battery range. Even if you go for the smaller battery in the Nissan Leaf, you'll get an extra 40 or 50 miles. The B-Class does have a much nicer interior than the Nissan Leaf though. Or you could go for something like a Kia Soul EV. But again, this one's got a nicer badge on the bonnet. Depends what's important to you, I suppose. To be honest though, I'd probably go for neither. I don't like the restrictive nature of an EV. I suppose that if you can find a way to fit this into your lifestyle, then it might not make a bad second car. It would be very cheap to run. For example, here in the UK, the road tax is zilch, zip, nada. And even though electricity costs have soared, it still won't cost a lot to charge. And servicing costs are, well, comically cheap. The only other things you'll have to pay for are wear and tear items such as brakes and tyres. That's it. Of course, the only other thing to factor in is battery degradation, which is a real thing. I'd factor in that you'll lose 2 or 3 miles range per year. But with that said, thinking pragmatically, if you were to buy one of these for around £12,000 and keep it for 5 years, it would probably still be worth £5,000 when you come to trade it in. By then it'll probably only have a range of between 45 and 50 miles, but still, all things considered, it is cheap motoring. You'd have 5 years of no road tax and no petrol station visits. But I think you'd have 5 years of stress, constantly stressing about your range. And as all those TV adverts keep telling us, stress is the silent killer. As your only car, I really couldn't recommend a B250E, but as a second car, then I could see how it would work. You just end up using it as a city or village runaround, a commuter car, train station car, that sort of thing. For me, the 2 biggest issues with EVs, especially early ones, is the poor range and the expensive price tag. You know, if this were a 5 grand car, then you'd think, yeah, okay, I'll have a go at one of those, I'll see how I can fit it into my lifestyle. But at 15 grand, you're honestly better off going with a B200 petrol automatic. As with everything in life, there are pros and cons, I guess. Well, I think that's about it. That's all I can tell you about the B250E. So thank you once again for watching. Make sure you give the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't done already. You can follow me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. I'll leave a link below. If you got any comments or questions, let me know below and I'll do my best to get back to you. So yeah, cheers guys. See you next time. I'm off to go and creep back to the garage now and plug this in before it leaves me stranded. It's still showing a range of 14 miles and I've only got 3 or 4 miles to do, so it should do it with ease, but I don't like cutting it that fine. It's a bit like turning up for a flight 45 minutes before it takes off. You could do it, but I just couldn't cope with all that anxiety. Right, cheers guys, see you next time.